What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I am your host, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin, and I am back once again, brought to you by Multi-Continental Wrestling Alliance on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, wherever you're finding us. It doesn't matter as long as you're finding us, and we're so glad that you all decided to join us for this evening. Tonight, I have a very special guest, not ghost. They're very much well alive. Nikki Van Blair. Nikki is a professional wrestling persona, wrestler, broadcaster, author, streamer, podcaster, you name it. Nikki does everything, and I'm really excited to have Nikki on this evening. But before we get into it and I bring Nikki out, I just want to take a quick second, a quick moment, a quick pause for the cause, if you will, to thank some sponsors who make this show possible every single episode. First up is A-Rock Designs. Now, A-Rock Designs is that company you see all over the wrestling Facebook groups, pages, Instagram pages, everything. They make custom wrestling cups, hoodies, keychains, t-shirts, not just wrestling stuff as well, but mainly wrestling stuff they do. They made me this custom CM Punk tumbler, which is absolutely incredible. They put some pretty cool glittery stuff in it as well. And it's amazing. Keeps my cold drinks cold and my hot drinks hot. So it's good all year round. Guys, my next sponsor is Signal Studios. Now, if you're a professional wrestler, okay, you're on the indie scene, you need some new music, you need something fresh, you need something fly, you need something dope, you need something cool, or whatever that is that the kids say these days that means sick, then you need to get some new entrance music, and you can get that at Signal Studios. Signal Studios is a recording studio based in Sydney, Australia. They can mix, master, produce any type of song that you want and send it out to you wherever you are in the world. Or if you are a magician or musician, even if you're a magician, you could probably go there too. But if you're a musician, you need a place to rehearse, a place to record. There is no place better than Signal Studios. It is a nice, relaxed environment to get all those creative juices flowing. But guys, without further ado, I see the comments are blowing up here. We got a few people here. We got Josh. We got Hugs in the house. We got Steve Howe in the house. A-Rock Designs is the best. Absolutely. We got James in the house. But without further ado, let's bring out my guest, Mr. Nikki Van Blair. Nikki, how are you, mate?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm really excited to have you on. I've been sort of wanting to get you on for a long time, and it's great to actually finally have you on. So thank you for giving us your night.
So flattered. Thank you. And thanks for letting me drink. That's the best part.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, we're shooting the shit uncensored, right? So, like, who am I to restrict or censor anyone?
Exactly. Uncensored. That way.
There you go. So we got a few people in the house tonight, all throwing up comments. But Nikki, it's it's been a long year, 2020, huh? Like, it's been pretty up and down.
Boy, has it.
I mean, how did the first lot of lockdowns treat you? Like, were you sort of by yourself a majority of the time? Were you with family, friends?
Well, so I was with my housemate Emily. So it was basically just us, which was great. So lockdown wasn't bad. I was one of the fortunate ones that could keep working and maintaining the lifestyle that I have. The frustrating part about lockdown was, one, not seeing my family, two, this nagging injury that I'm dealing with.
Yeah. And, not seeing family and stuff like that. And even, for a lot of people not being able to do the simple things like going to the gym and just going up to the shop or going out for something to eat. It's like lifestyle was just, it was impacted to ways where I think that our generation and probably the generation below us has never seen in our lifetimes before. So it was kind of scary.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those things where we say in future, like, we survived, COVID-19 and 2020 and stuff like that. And that's going to go down in history books. And I think it's, like, not great to be a part of it, but it's like, history making, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, I definitely get where you're coming from. But, the time away from wrestling, how was that for you? Were you itching to get back?
Well, like, yes and no. Like, I actually kind of enjoyed the time away so I could focus on other things. But at the same time, because I injured myself in March, I couldn't really do anything with wrestling, even if it was on. So I guess in that sense, it was kind of fortunate that I got injured when I did, because wrestling stopped anyway. But I actually kind of enjoyed the break. I got to focus on other things. Yeah, exactly. Old people that survived Spanish flu and shit.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that. But yeah, you mentioned you got injured in March. What was the injury? Can you give us a bit of a bit of a history on it?
Yeah, so I dislocated my tailbone. Not even like broke it. It was dislocated. And to the point where my GP got the x-rays and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen this before." And I was like, "What kind of professional am I dealing with?" And this happened. Sorry.
No, go. Sorry.
I was going to say this happened in a three-way match against Carter Deems and Caesar. I went for a Bronco Buster. Caesar got out of the way, and I landed straight on it.
Oh.
And I thought, like, because I had a big butt, that it would be fine, and there's heaps of cushioning. It was not fine.
Oh wow. Jeez. Man, that's a painful injury to get. Like lower back injuries as well. Like they're just ridiculous. That's like this. Yeah, they're debilitating. But how's the injury going now? Like, are you back at 100%?
No, so it's actually kind of a sad story. So my physio was like, "You should be fine by September. Just wait till then. You should be able to go back to training." All of that. Come September. Oh, hello, Zayden. Kia ora, sorry. Now I forgot what I was saying. So my physio was like, "Yeah, you should be fine in September." And I was like, "Sweet." And then come September, I went to go see her, and she was like, "Oh, doll, how do I break it to you?" And then basically said I wasn't ready to go back and I had to wait till February.
Hugs. You're disgusting.
I mean, I'm sure that does sound painful, but that didn't happen to me. So
yeah, no, it would be painful. But yeah, I mean, like I think that the time to sort of like, you just keep on working and trying to get it better as best you can. I mean, it's one of those muscles which are just like, because you're always moving, right? Like walking and stuff like that. So it's impossible to sit there and lay straight for like 3 months and not have anything, like, so I could probably see why it takes long for that sort of injury to really sort of repair itself though.
Yeah, especially because I like sit down for work. So like, yeah, but it's getting better. I was telling Kingsley the other day that I was at a solid 6 for a while, and now it's kind of like a 3 and a 2.5.
But how long have you been involved with wrestling? Like, what was it that drew you into it?
In training or like in general, like becoming a fan?
I think probably like becoming a fan, because I think that like, that's where it really starts for every person involved in it. Was like they're a fan of the business. It's not like they just go, "Yeah, I'm just going to go do this wrestling thing." And
just going to go to wrestling school.
Yeah, unless you're Goldberg or Big Show, like.
Yeah, I started starting watching wrestling when I was 4, 5-ish.
Yeah.
My family would watch it on Fox Sports. That's how fucking old I am, that it was on Fox Sports. And they loved it, and I didn't really find someone that was targeted to me, so I wasn't really interested in it. And then this blonde, phenomenal woman named Sable came out, and I was hooked. I thought she was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I thought she was incredible. So, you know what? I think that's a compliment that you look like Dana White.
Really? Well, I'm not shaving the beard though.
Yeah, so I saw Sable, fell in love, and then I remember the first match that really like brought out the inner, for lack of a better term, Mark, was when she won the women's championship from Jacqueline at Survivor Series. I'm pretty sure I actually cried.
Really? You were that big of a fan?
Yeah.
Wow.
Huge Sable fan. And to this day, probably number one. Ever since then, I became hooked on wrestling. And I haven't stopped watching since, basically.
You know what? Mine is the exact same story. I was a teenage boy. I saw Sable and I got hooked on it. No, I'm kidding.
I'm sure
But
we're talking about the exact same reasons as well.
I completely would agree. But, I think it's, that era of wrestling is such a good time to come in because that was at like pretty much the peak, right? So like they had the peak in the 80s, with Hogan and that, and then it sort of got to that early 90s and it sort of just dropped off a bit. And then as soon as it hit the late 90s, that's kind of like my memory of wrestling as well. I was about a teenager and I was like started getting into it from there. I was like, all right, this looks cool. Like, I mean, like the edgier side of things. And I think Sable, definitely pushed the envelope on a lot for edginess and, some of the crazy shit she did.
Yeah, I remember watching the handprint titty bikini thing, and I was obviously like 5, and I thought it was amazing, but I knew my parents didn't want me watching that. So I remember she took it off. I was like, oh my gosh, she's got handprints on her titties. And I think my mom was like, what are you watching? So I was like, wrestling, Mum.
Yeah, you know what? And that was I think that would probably be the hardest point to sell someone who isn't a wrestling fan, as like, and especially someone like old school is like, so this is professional wrestling, and there's Sable with like 2 big handprints on her titties.
I reckon that would draw in way more people than like a catch-can wrestling match.
It might not draw in grandma, but it'll definitely draw in grandpa.
Exactly.
But, like, were you a fan continuously from that moment? Like, was it there always something that kept you intrigued in wrestling?
Yeah. So I always loved, like, if you can't tell, I always loved the divas over, like, the male wrestlers. I obviously have a love for people like Kurt Angle, who, in my opinion, is the best wrestler in the world and hasn't been touched since. But I always favored the divas. So, like, by the time Sable was let go the first time, I started liking, like, the Cat. And then she went, I started liking Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson. Even on WCW's side, I loved Nitro Girl Tigress. You can't tell me there is a better wrestler on WCW than Tigress, because you'd be lying.
Yeah, she got put with the Filthy Animals. Was that like Conan?
Yes, she did. Yes, she
did.
Yeah.
I remember that. Like, but you know what? The Nitro Girls were so unique back then because it's like, what the like it was like their cheer squad. Well, it was their cheer squad. You know what I mean? And that's why like it was unique for pro wrestling. And it has. Well, I think TNA tried to do it, but then they're like, yeah, no, fuck that shit.
Yeah, well, it only worked back then because, like, women were still considered, like, an attraction, a special attraction.
AJ Lee is the best WWE.
Totally. Period.
Right. I don't know. It's so hard to say. Like,
finish that sentence, love.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's so hard to say, like, who is the greatest wrestler of all time, like, or even like that, who is the greatest female wrestler of all time? It's like, it depends what day it is, dude. Like,
no, that's very true.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like no real wrestling fan is going to be able to go, oh yeah, like this is my favorite wrestler. They always go, well, I really like this one, but then there's this one, and it's a never ending. But sorry, I digress. But yeah, look, I was a big fan of the WCW, especially Nitro Girls, because they were something so unique for their time.
But like, again, when you said TNA tried it, because it was a different time, different era, women were doing more things than just dancing. They were like, okay, that's not a good idea. Let's get women to actually do something else. But again, back in the days, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like it definitely did. But I even think like TNA in the early days did it like, I don't want to say like in degrading way, but like they had women like dancing in cages and shit as the intro and stuff. So I think they did try and do it, but I think they steered away from it. Obviously, with the name TNA, they were like, well, they've got to have some TNA.
Yeah, and they did. They just used it wrong. I remember like early days TNA, well, early-ish days, they put Christy Hemme in a tuxedo match against some dude, and I was like, this is the worst use of a woman I've ever seen.
And it's like, but the thing is as well, like someone like Christy Hemme, who is an entertaining like performer and could pull it off.
Yeah, but it was still crap, you know.
Oh, like no, I completely agree. So, but we got Christy in the house. She's saying hello, hello, tuning in to you both while eating dinner in my car. Hungry Jacks, I'm such a good friend.
Oh my gosh, now I want Hungry Jacks.
You know what? Like, I love Hungry Jacks, but my wife hates it. Like, she's like, and I'm just like, yeah, well, me and the kids like
What do
it.
you
So
mean?
she just doesn't like it. She's like not a Hungry Jacks fan. I'm like, but the burgers are better.
They are better.
I keep telling her, but she just doesn't get it. Doesn't get it, man.
That's genuinely mind blowing for me because when I have the opportunity to have a cheat meal or have a really bad excuse to have a cheat meal, I'll get Hungry Jacks.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. Like, I'll get Hungry Jacks even. It's like, I had a cheat meal yesterday, but fuck it, I really feel like Hungry Jacks. So, but I try and be good, but it is what it is. But when did you decide to actually try and getting involved in wrestling? Like, how long? Like, were you a teenager when you were like, this is what I want to do?
Yes, but then so I wanted to be a wrestler since I was like dead set 12. But I remember standing up in front of like my youth group or whatever when I was like 13, and everyone had to go around and say what they wanted to be when they wanted to be like grew up. And I said wrestler, and everyone laughed. that dead set like threw me off for like 13 years. So I was like, well, okay, then if they don't believe I can do it, then you're an impressionable 13-year-old. Of course, you're going to take that like personally.
I think it's probably because like if you were in America and you said that, like they would be like, okay, that's like saying I want to be a superhero when you're like 4 or a Ninja Turtle. Yeah. But I think because it's like Australia and like wrestling's at probably the biggest point that it's been ever here in Australia. But like when we were younger, it's 15 or so years ago, it wasn't the case. And I can remember it was the same conversation when I was like, what do you want to be? I want to be a wrestler. And everyone laughed. It's like, what else do you want to be? I was like, no, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, same. I didn't have like a backup answer to that either. It was always I was going to grow up and be a wrestler.
Yeah. What if you don't make it? What do you mean?
I know. What do you mean if I don't make it? Yeah. But then in 2017, actually no. So at the end of 2016, I went on a like 6-week holiday to find myself because that's what spoiled people like me do to find themselves. They go on a holiday to a different country. And I was like, you know what, YOLO, I'm going to try it and be a wrestler. So beginning of 2017, I attended tryouts, loved it, never looked back. Here I am today with my dislocated tailbone.
Was that with PWA you started training?
No, so I started my training with APWG, Australian Pro Wrestling Gym, and trained there for a year and a half, but then they like unofficially shut down. So, and because I obviously wanted to keep learning, keep growing, I then moved over to PWA.
Yeah, and PWA and even the Australian Pro Wrestling Gym, they're both renowned trainers.
Yeah,
that train there, and two of the best. Like I've heard a lot of great stories from the Australian Pro Wrestling Gym, and PWA just speaks for itself.
Yeah, and so like quite a few of the guys at PWA now were formerly products of APWG, like Sam Osborne originally came from there, Paris Da Silva, Will Ketis, just to name a few, and now me. Oh hey.
Well, exactly. Like there's so much talent that came out of there, and even PWA. Like PWA is probably the top pro wrestling company. In New South Wales, if not Australia. Yeah, exactly. And it's the show quality is phenomenal, and the performers are incredible. And that's the thing is to have compelling shows with performers that are on top of their game.
Yeah. And we knock it out of the park every time.
Oh, absolutely. But so you started training in 2017. How long before you actually got in the ring and started having a match? And was it like within months, or was it sort of a longer process before you actually went in?
J Law at APWG, and I respected him so much for this. He didn't believe in chucking people into the ring quickly. Yeah. He would prefer to have you like clean and polished before you got into a match. So I started training it like in February, and then I was given like a very brief spot in a Rumble in July, where I wasn't Nikki Van Blair. I was just Nikki the trainee. But then my first actual match was in September of that year against another rookie.
And how did you find like the first match? Was it, mind sort of blowing at first, or was it like nerves? Like what was going through your mind?
It was like my childhood dream, and I was living it out. I just went through the match, did it. I won, obviously. As soon as the ref counted to 3, wrestler me kind of left. And then it was like my childhood self was just like overwhelmed with emotions. That I wrestled a wrestling match. I fucking did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And I'm pretty sure when I was driving home that night, I cried probably.
Oh, that's awesome though. Because you know what, it shows the passion for it as well. And being in the first match, I always see so many times is to be able to control certain emotions. Like if you're trying to be like this badass heel on TV, holding the belt up, I'd be sitting there going, "This is fucking awesome."
Yeah.
I'd be a complete mark.
Yeah. And especially because I'm always a heel, because some people think I'm a bitch, which I don't agree with, but whatever. I remember I wrestled a match and I was the biggest fucking bitch ever. And then at the end of this, for the main event, everyone comes out and watches as a show of respect or whatever. And one of my closest friends at the time was wrestling in his first main event. So I had just played the biggest bitch, and then now I'm sitting on the stage trying to hide the fact I'm crying because I'm so proud of him.
But that's the thing that to me would be the hardest thing, is to control that emotion where because sometimes emotion can just take over you in that moment, and it's so hard. How anyone can do it.
Super emotional person. So you could tell that I was crying, but I tried to keep this angry face on. So I was kind of with tears going down my eyes. I was like, whatever.
Hey,
whatever.
It was onions. Someone was cutting onions near you. That shit happens. That's the excuse I would. Yeah, easily. We got a question.
All the bogans in the crowd smelled, so I was crying.
There you go. We got a couple of questions. First one is from Hugs. He wants to know, weird question, how big important are the bushwhackers in Australian wrestling culture?
They would be as important in Aussie wrestling culture as Miss Kitty is to the Women's Revolution, which is very.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the bushwhackers being they're New Zealanders, but as Australians do, we claim everything great that comes out of New Zealand. So, they're incredible. I think they had a great run as the sheep herders when they were a bit more violent and serious. But they're cool. So Christy wants to know how you came up with the Nikki Van Blair name. I think you were born Nikki Van Blair, right?
I was about to say, essentially, I walked out of the womb with this name. No, so obviously I just wanted to go with my name, Nikki. And then when I was coming up with the last name, because I knew I wanted a spoiled rich bitch gimmick.
Yeah.
I paired Blair Waldorf and Serena Vanderwoodson from Gossip Girl, meshed their names together and came up with Van Blair.
That is awesome. That is incredible. And the character itself, is that where you've also gotten the style for Nikki Van Blair as well? Not just the name, but the sort of personas and traits?
No, I'm actually just 100% being myself, but just being more obnoxious about it. Like, if you've ever seen me with my father, you would actually feel sorry for him.
Really? Why is that?
I am the most spoiled piece of shit I have ever met.
Really?
Yes.
Can you give me an example? Give me an example. Like, you can't make a statement like that. I'm like, all right, well, what makes you like? Do you sit there and go, "Hey, Dad, can you knock out this rent for me this month?" Like,
No, okay. Here's an example. So I was on a Kentucky trip in 2015,
yeah,
and I was doing like the first half of this tour, but then decided that I wanted to do the second half as well. So I
yeah.
called. So on the bus in America, I FaceTimed my father, um, and was like, "Oh, hey, Daddy, can I just have like $3,000 so I can keep doing this trip?"
Really?
And he, funnily enough, this is when he coined the term. He was like, "Sorry, the Bank of Daddy doesn't have that for you right now." Um, and I was like, and then I was like 23 at the time. I chucked like the biggest tantrum. I was like, "Daddy, I want $3,000."
And did he end up doing it?
Well, he was like, call me later if you need it. I'll give it to you. But then something happened with my friend, and I think her father passed away. So I was like, that's a sign that I should get home earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe he knew what was going on back home, and he was like, "Yeah, well, I'm gonna hold out for a minute. Your friend's about to get a phone call."
He was about to cave though. I love him, but I feel sorry for him at the same time.
Damn, that is pretty fortunate to have your dad just be able to go, all right, I'm gonna drop $3,000 so you can continue having a good time.
That's continue this trip that I also paid majority for as well.
Yeah, of course. But that's incredible. But
Yeah,
what
so the character wasn't a character, if that makes sense. I was
sure.
just myself turned up just the treble and the bass, bam, in
But you
Big
know
D.
what? Everyone who in professional wrestling has said that. It's like the best characters, the best gimmicks, the best personas are the individual with their character turned way, way up.
Mm.
And that's the thing. Like, have you found like, yeah, obviously trying to be a heel, but do you ever get like the reaction of the face when you go out there sometimes? Because yeah, you come out with such energy and you're so entertaining. From what I saw of the match at the last PWA show, like I was going, that was incredible. Like your performance was amazing.
And I didn't even do that much, so thank you. Um, yeah, no, I do. I'll go out there and I'll like, call this person a bogan, call this person a dull bludger, and they will all love it. And I'm like, can you please stop? You need to boo me. I am insulting you.
But the hilarious point of that match is like when little Cherry Stevens is climbing to the top and about to reach that envelope, you've come like inches away from her face and just screams. And I actually saw the soul leave her body.
I saw the soul leave her young body. And I was like, look, sorry, hun, it had to be done.
Kyle Eade, he's got a question. He wants to know: do you miss being a tag team with Jay Dewhurst and Alex Irvine as the Plastics?
I'm going to correct you because Ashley Spencer was also part of the Plastics as well. I do miss it sometimes because we were such a cohesive group, but we've all four of us have moved on in our own directions. So yes, I do miss it, but I'm glad I've moved on because now I'm with Reese and we are going to take over PWA and win Coliseum.
Reese is a very incredible in the ring. Like he's so talented. Like I
He's
had him on
phenomenal.
the week. He's on another level. He's just incredible in the ring. I was actually surprised on how long he'd actually been wrestling. Like that to me was, yeah. I mean, like the way he moves is like he just on a like I said on a different level.
Yeah, when I moved over to PWA, obviously I met him during training, and he was just doing things that I couldn't even dream of. And then I remember asking someone else, like, oh, like, what's his worker name? I haven't seen him before. And they're like, oh, he hasn't wrestled yet. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Because he was just so talented. And I was like, bruh, you need to get in the ring and share your talent with other people.
Oh, it's just such a surprise. Like when he told me how long he's wrestling, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Some
When
people
you've got it.
Some people just pick it up, like things up so naturally. But Christy Black Adams, she wants to know, how did you choose your finishing move?
Oh, good Lord. Okay, so
every great story starts with, oh, good Lord.
So, well, I have, let's say, let's just say one. I have one finisher, which I call Victoria's Secret, which is a gory flatliner, which regrettably, I was aware that a wrestler had done it before, but I didn't know who did it because I didn't do my research. I acknowledge that. That's stupid of me. But I first saw it on a wrestling game. And I was like, hey, that looks cool. And then I was wrestling a match, I think it was against Xena in Melbourne. And I was like, hey, I saw this move on like a wrestling game. Can I do it to you? And she was like, yeah, sure. And that's when I pulled it out.
Yeah, right. And, you just basically worked it out, able to sort of put it together and, make something, new and original. But as you said, it was like used by someone else prior. Like, do you remember where you saw it used?
Like besides from the wrestling game? No, I think I remember seeing like a clip of it somewhere on like Twitter or something, but I forgot who was on it because I wasn't paying attention. And then I forgot about it, saw it in the wrestling game. I was like, hey, that's cool.
Oh man, that's a pretty cool way to come up with a finishing move, though, seeing it in a video game. But we got Alcoholic Adam. We got Alcoholic Adam in the house. Thanks for tuning in, Adam. So, guys, if you're watching us on YouTube or Twitch, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, hit that thumbs up. It means a lot to us. And while you're on Instagram or Twitter, make sure you follow Nikki Van Blair. But we're not going just yet. We're just taking a second to give a bit of a shameless plug because that's what we need to do every once in a while. So,
yeah, exactly.
It's all about just getting our plugs in when we can. It's called getting your shit in, I think.
Getting your shit in. That's exactly what it's called.
Getting your shit in. But what so far in your career has been one of your standout moments for you in the wrestling business?
I've had quite a bit. I remember like the first moment that I really like marked out for myself was at an FWA show. Oh, I miss you too, Josh. I hope you're doing well. What happened? I got to do a little like segment-ish bit with Shaul Guerrero, which was super exciting. Yeah. So it was a triple threat, and I was managing Ricky, and I kept getting involved, and then she like jumps onto the apron because we had words before, and then she like slapped me fair across the bloody face. And I remember beforehand she was like when I slap you, do you want me to make it like safe? I'm like, no, bitch, just lay it in. And boy, did she lay that thing in. I was so shocked. Yeah. Oh, Latina Heat slapped the actual shit out of me.
Jesus. That's a pretty cool. That's a pretty cool story, though. Like, your show, she was signed to NXT for a while, wasn't she?
Yeah. I don't know the full story, but yeah, she was in NXT, and she was amazing. As Raquel Diaz was her name.
Yeah, I remember that. She had a lot of potential, though. Like, I wish, like, if she had stuck with it, I reckon she would have, with the name Guerrero, it's like.
Oh well, because I still keep in like touch with her every now and then. She's actually started wrestling again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she's on the Indies now, and I think she just had her first match on the Indies like a few weeks ago, and I'm sure she did amazing. I don't need to double check that. I'm sure she did.
Yeah, because she's married to
Aiden English.
Aiden English, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I knew that. So, but yeah, that's incredible, man. That she's getting back into it. Hopefully, it'll lead to big things for her. But
Yeah,
you know.
I'm hoping that leads to her coming back here because we need our blow off match after she slaps the shit out of me.
Well, hopefully, she hasn't gotten stronger and tries to slap you with the other hand.
She does. I loved it. I loved it.
It'd just be like, I can see you walking. What up, bitch? This.
Oh
Five
my gosh.
fingers.
I'll send you the clip. It was actually like buck wild.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see it. But you know what? Actually, Kyle asked the question. I think we've pretty much come close to covering it. But he said, "What was your favorite match in your career and why?" I think it was the Shol Guerrero thing. But do you have a particular match where you were?
That wasn't really my match because I was managing in that one. I think my favorite match was a match against Xena at MCW for several reasons. One, because we had good chemistry and we fucking killed it. Two, because of the story of how I got booked in that one. So that weekend I was quite sick and I had to pull out of a show on the Saturday because I just was not well to wrestle at all. But then the MCW promoter messaged me on the Saturday after I had pulled out of that show later that day and was like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And obviously it's MCW. And I was like, "Oh, nothing. Why?" And he's like, "Look at you with your freshly shaven head."
Yeah, I'll try my best. Sorry, continue.
And then I was like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything tomorrow." And he was like, "Want to come wrestle for me?" And obviously I'm not going to turn that down. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then literally booked my flights an hour later and then flew to Melbourne the day after. I was still sick as a bloody dog. I felt like slightly better, but I like couldn't breathe for the majority of it. So if you, and the funny part was Dina, I'm pretty sure at the same time, was also quite sick. So both of us put on this, what I like to think was a really great match, while we were both unable to breathe, basically.
And you know, dosed up on Panadine Fort and Nurofen and cough syrup.
I don't think we actually took anything because we were so like stumped for time. Like we flew to Melbourne, got picked up, was taken to our room, had something quick to eat, and then we had to go to the venue.
Oh wow! So it was like pretty much like just non-stop from the get-go,
it was non-stop. And then, like you know, the show ended, and everyone was like, "Oh, let's all go out." And Xena and I like, "Nah, we're going to bed."
Yeah, but you know what? It's probably a good thing that it was like so full on because I think if it was like stop, start, when you're sick, as soon as you stop, you stop.
Yeah, we would have been dead.
Yeah, like you would have needed a lot of Red Bull and coffee to sort of get you going, for, you know, like especially if you're in that state. So
yeah, and I remember feeling super like, you know, gassed or tired out during the match, and I'm like, it's not my fitness levels; it's genuinely because I can't breathe.
yeah, like yeah, but it would be so hard as well, like being that sick and still being in the ring and performing at a level which you know you need to wrestle at on big shows like that. It would be damn. Well, I take my hat off to you. Like that would be a very hard task to do.
Thank you. And we pulled it off because I remember the promoter after said like, "Oh my gosh, you were much better." I think he said I was really good, but I think he also said something like, "You were much better than what I thought you would have been." I guess maybe I'm making that up. And he was like, "I'm really excited to have you back." And I was like, "Thanks."
He said, "You were much better than I thought you were going to be."
Actually, no. You know what? I'm pretty sure I'm making that up.
That's like the biggest backhanded compliment. That's just saying, "Wow, you look really nice for an asshole."
No, okay, maybe I worded it wrong. I'm so sorry if you're watching this. But yeah, no, he like paid me a really great compliment. Is what I'm trying to say. And he was like, "Oh, I'm really excited to have you back." And I was like, "I'm gonna hold you to that."
Have you been back since?
Not yet, but fingers crossed, something in the future for when my tailbone.
And 2021 kicks in and traveling can open up again for everybody. So
yeah. Well, I'm really excited to go back. If they want to have me, That's good.
Absolutely. Every promotion should get you in. Seriously, I think you bring something different and unique to a wrestling show. And I mean that in a positive way. But
Thank you.
oh, no problem. I always like to, flatter my guests. That way, they help me promote the show. They have a good time and.
But you mean it as well, obviously.
Sorry?
You mean it as well, obviously.
Oh,
You're just flattering me for your bloody show, are you?
No, 100%. 100% mean it. And, I think you definitely do bring something unique. And it's, I think that characters like yours and being in the year that we're in now is now being more, I think, like it's more, like more progressive, more accepting, where I think wrestling has had gimmicks similar, but it was always the comedy spot, where now it's not necessarily needs to be the main vocal point of the character, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
or it was done in like a... Sorry?
Like I was saying, it's acknowledging it, but it's not turning it into something that necessarily needs to be the butt of a joke or a comedy spot in a wrestling show.
Yeah, because that's like characters like that before were definitely used as like, the butt of the joke, or like a cheap pop, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Because it was like, considered so scandalous to be like, gay or queer back in the day. Whereas now it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like people just don't, it's more accepting now. And
yeah.
I interviewed a guy called Kiwi who wrestled in WCW and had this very flamboyant gimmick. And
he was made up with Paisley. I know all about Kiwi.
Yeah, like I interviewed him and he's like, talking to him, he's like this tough as nails. He's like, yeah, I met Perry Saturn. And I said to him, I was like, motherfucker, you got a problem? We'll fucking throw hands, motherfucker. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, dude, I was not expecting that. But yeah, like, and he even said it was like, back then he said it like to have that. He goes, it was just to get that cheap reaction. He goes, that's what it was. And that's always what he said is like, we're going to get you to do this gimmick, but it's just to get you cheap heat or a cheap pop in the middle of the show. And, whereas now it's more, okay, this is a professional wrestler. This is whatever background that they are, but they're also a kick-ass performer. And this is what this is how there's more to the character. There's more layers to the actual cake itself.
Yeah, exactly. This isn't just to like, pop the boys. This is like an actual character, actual wrestler.
And it's, and that's why I think it's great that it's this day and age that we can have that sort of character and it be accepted by fans and everything like that, because years ago, people would see that and just be like, throw all, like I remember in early 2000s, I went to a wrestling show and they had a character similar. And like, I went to an all ages show and there was like just abuse from like kids and grandparents. And I was just like, what in the fuck, dude? Like, really? Like, it's a wrestling show.
Yeah.
Like, why are you mad?
Well, that's because obviously over the years people educate themselves, which is great. But if you compare that to, I did a suplex explicit show, and my job was to strip. Well, the thing was, like, I was meant to go out and strip. Someone interrupts me. I wrestled him. I wrestled a full match in this robe and 9-inch heels.
Dude, really?
Your boy is fucking talented. So I wrestled him, I beat him, and then I was like, you all came to see me get naked. And then I went to the pole and did like a full pole routine and took my clothes off. There was not one person in the crowd who was like, this was disgusting, they were hate gays or anything like that. They all loved it. And that just shows how much we have progressed since, like, the time you went to that show.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, like this day and age, it's like, I think if one person was to even like stand up and say something like that, they would get shut the fuck down by pretty much everyone in that audience.
Yeah.
The majority of people would be like, dude, no. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing about how we've all progressed, and even how professional wrestling has progressed as well. Because wrestling proves that I think professional wrestling to me proves that it's for everybody,
For
whatever
everyone.
like. Literally everyone fits in professional wrestling. Like you want a midget? Okay, there's little Guida or little whoever. You come here. You want a giant? Yeah, no worries. Like got that. You know what I mean? Like there's everyone can fit in professional wrestling.
All walks of life are in wrestling, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, same here. Like that's why it's like you see so many people, like so many of these eclectic personalities and backgrounds, and it's it's interesting to see how other people from different walks of life take their professional wrestling and what they put into it as well. So
yeah, no, exactly.
So you reckon Sable's the greatest diva of all time? Are we talking like women's wrestler though? Like, are we talking like in-ring performer, or are you talking diva?
Okay. So diva to me is an attitude. It's not like if you're a female and a wrestler, because they're like great women's wrestlers, like Charlotte Flair, for example, who is phenomenal at what she does, but she, oh my gosh, I hope no one takes offense to this, but doesn't have the diva attitude, if that makes sense. But
yeah,
if we're talking about all-around best female performer, I truly wouldn't say Sable. I'm so sorry. But she is the greatest to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, she was your favorite. She was your key person there.
Yeah.
But who were some of the other women that you really sort of looked at and really got inspiration from though?
Tori and Stacey. Oh my god, when she got inducted into the Hall of Fame and then Stacey Keebler made her comeback, oh my god, lost my fucking shit.
Yeah, I loved when they came into WWE though. Like that was like that, like I mean, like they had like pre-careers in WCW, but when they came into WWE, like they really just went to another level altogether.
Yeah, and they were like kind of chucked in the deep end because they didn't really have wrestling experience. But then their first like thing they were given in WWE was a tag match against Lita and Trish, who obviously had wrestling experience and had that following.
Yeah.
So like kudos to them for like trying their. Who else did I like? The Cat, a very underappreciated performer. Everyone needs to stop shitting on her. She was phenomenal.
Yeah, she's not one you hear much of these days, though, is she?
Not really, but if you ask someone their opinion on the Cat, it's always like, she didn't deserve to win the women's title. She was a shit wrestler. And I'm like,
what do you mean didn't deserve to win the? That's the thing. I love when wrestling fans go, the person didn't deserve to win the title. It's fucking it's pro wrestling. I love pro wrestling. Don't get me wrong, but it's like to be a champion is because someone said, "Hey, dude, you're going to be the champion." Like
we need to put the title on you.
That's not a secret.
And then she lost the title to a man dressed up as a woman. So, truly, what's worse than that?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's cheap heat, to get a cheap pop from the crowd, at her expense. But she was kind of underrated. You know what I mean? I liked her mini China face.
Oh my gosh, the Chinette gimmick. Wasn't that redonk?
You know what? China's gimmick back then, like the ultimate like female, like you know what I mean, like the standing up for women's rights and all that sort of stuff, but just being like this badass woman that could beat the shit out of half the dudes as well.
Yeah, and the best thing about that was no one really bat an eye. It was like, oh, China versus Mark Henry. No one was like, oh, she's a woman. They were just like, oh yeah.
Well, that apparently, like, there was a lot of guys that refused to wrestle China. Like, refused. Like, they said, okay, like they'd say, all right, she's going to go in there, she's going to hit you with the right. No, she's fucking not. Okay, no, yeah, like she got man. Someone like her persevered through a lot of shit, man. Like, I got a lot of respect for someone like that, and hearing those stories, you just go, fuck, like. Man, to sit there and go through that shit and still do it, like still to keep turning up, like that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, I heard about that, and it's like it's the whole intergender wrestling debate that's going on now
Yeah.
that really shouldn't be happening, but it's still going. I was like, women shouldn't be in the ring with a man because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, let me tell you why you were so completely wrong. Because I'm all for intergender wrestling, and if you have a problem with it, like my DMs are open, hun. I'm more than happy to discuss it with you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I personally was never the biggest fan of intergender wrestling. I've come around to it now. For
Yeah,
me, 'cause, like, when you grow up, and I was born in the '80s, so for me, it's like, when you grow up, you're always taught don't hit girls, right? So
yeah,
that's the thing. The old school mentality of it for me is like always been like really hard to sit there and see a dude punch it, even if it's a work punch, but it's still hard to sort of sit there and go, yeah. But good intergender wrestling done correctly is incredible.
yeah.
It can get you to, okay, this, don't worry about male versus female, just watch the wrestling in front of you.
Two wrestlers. Yeah, I had a match with Jessica Troy, and you know how like the usual intergender storyline is like the woman is like outmatched against the man because he's bigger and stronger and whatever. We told the complete opposite story. She was the far better wrestler, and I was the bitch that was trying to run away from her. And that story was told so well in our match that we didn't have to do much in terms of wrestling to tell the really great story that we had. And in the end, I think like I had to get it was Sam Osborne. Sam Osborne had to come in and hit his finisher on her behind the ref's back for me to win because there was no way I was going to beat her.
And Jessica Troy is a legit badass as well. Like, she is like, her wrestling in the ring, like, she puts a beat down on people like they owe her money. Like, seriously, like, she beats the living fuck out of them.
She is as talented as she is beautiful, which is, as you can see, is a lot. So yeah, I just knew there was no way that no one else, like, that a fan is going to buy the story of me out wrestling her.
But that's the thing as well, to make it so unique as well, like to have that of you going like, I'm scared to fucking get in there. I'm going to be like the run and hide thing as well, like to have that as like a role reversal sort of thing, like to do that it's so well done. And that's what I really enjoy about PWA shows, is because they do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And it's like, not to the point where it's like Jim Cornette's going to blow a valve.
Yeah.
but like that, you guys do stuff differently. You take chances, and I think that's what a lot of people haven't really seen in pro wrestling in a long time, because it's like you see the same stuff gets recycled every 5-10 years. It gets recycled again, but to actually sit there and try and do stuff new, like it's groundbreaking in a way.
Yeah, it really is. And every chance that PWA takes at doing something different, like, in my opinion, always pays off.
Yeah, and that's the thing. PWA have definitely got a plan, and that family pack mentality that you guys have of it's all of you is, like, and I say this every time I have someone from PWA on. It's a breath of fresh air seeing that in the world of professional wrestling, where the stories of everyone trying to like slash ankles out from underneath the other person, throw people under the bus and all that sort of stuff. To see that in pro wrestling is, it's great to see how much it's actually evolved behind the scenes from a business perspective as well.
Yeah, and even like in terms of training, everyone is supporting you and wants you to be the very best. There's no like, impatient eye rolls or anything. If you can't get something, everyone will support you until you can get it. And that's, like, as you can see, that's the mentality that you can see in shows. That's the mentality we have in training.
And I think you have to have that. And it's, it comes down to, working together for a common goal, but it also comes down to is like, let me put it like this. What's the reason you got into wrestling? Because you loved it, right?
Me, or is that...
Yeah, I'm asking you. Like, you got because you loved it, right?
Yeah.
And it was fun for you. So you know, that's the thing. Is like if someone doesn't get something, it shouldn't be like, oh, you didn't fucking get it. Hurry the fuck. It's all right, man.
Yeah.
It's we're having fun, and we're loving what we're doing, and you'll pick it up next time, or keep going, or you know what I mean. Like that's the real mentality for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's incredible, and you're definitely seeing the talent coming out of that pool there from PWA, and it's absolutely amazing. But guys, we are hitting that 1 hour mark, and I am wanting to be conscious. Yeah, I can't even speak of Nikki's time. He's got the prosecco going. I've got the ice water going in the CM Punk cup. Haven't put beer in this yet. I kind of feel like it'd be sacrilegious to put like beer or any kind of alcohol in a CM
I
Punk
was just about to say, why don't you put alcohol in it? But now that you've mentioned it, noted.
Yeah. That's why I've got a beer sitting here ready to go for after the show. So, but Nikki, thank you so much for coming on. It's been incredible having you on and talking to you, and definitely would love to get you back on for a part 2 somewhere down the track.
Oh my gosh, I have so much shit to talk about, so I'll hold you to that.
You have an open forum anytime you want to come back here. You just let me know, and we'll make it happen any day.
Yeah.
But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure having you all here taking part of Shooting the Shit, as you always do. Guys, make sure to tune in for my next interview coming up, which will be next week. I'll let you know in a few days. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I've got a couple special ones planned for you guys, and we'll make sure that you check it out. But guys, in the meantime, please head over and check out Nikki Van Blair on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. And I have to say this, Nick, I'm going to stop this. Your YouTube show, you're onto a thing with that. You should continue that.
I have ideas, but then because I'm strapped for time, excuses. But it's coming back.
Absolutely, guys. So make sure to be on the watch out for that. But Nikki, is there any place where people can follow you? Also, where they can get some of your merch?
Yes, WrestleMerch.com. If you search up Nikki Van Blair, I'm there. I have 3 shirts available so far. Other than that, you can find me on Facebook, Nikki Van Blair, Twitter, Nikki Van Blair, Instagram. My handle's Nikki Menagerie because I thought that was really funny once upon a time. I'm also on TikTok as Nikki Van Blair. I don't post there that much now, and YouTube.
There you go, guys. Make sure to go hit subscribe to all of those platforms. Head over to Wrestler Merch. Get a Nikki Van Blair shirt. Get one for yourself. Get one for your mum for Christmas. Get one for your dad. Get one for your mum and dad. And whoever else you got in your family that will rock out with a Nikki Van Blair shirt. But guys, this is the Christmas episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a very merry and happy Christmas. And we'll catch you again very soon.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Bye.